Well, good afternoon again, and welcome to the Healthcare Quality and Risk Matters After Show. My name is Gary Bierce. We just had an exciting live show, Healthcare Quality and Risk Matters live show, talking about Leapfrog and rating services and how people find themselves in a rut and what do they need to do to get out of it. And I am joined, of course, by our esteemed Chief Operating Officer, Rob Santamar, who is everything quality and risk. And so we are excited to be able to continue our conversation here in the after show. We are restricted, or we restrict ourselves, I should say, in our live show to not talk about systems, particularly because we're a healthcare software company, on how it can make a difference and some of the things that are going on. So if you were with us in the live show, we were talking about the fact that if you get a Leapfrog rating and you're a C or below, it could be quite serious. There are many organizations that won't even do business with you if you're a C or below. So it could create a major issue and down spiral problem for your organization. Now, we didn't talk about it in the live show, but I will want to encourage people one thing. If you got a C rating, the world's not ending, okay? There are things you can do to get out of that problem. The key is you got to do a gut check your organization culturally, look at how you face risk and how you're doing things operationally through the lens of healthcare quality. That's the core. And are you projecting those things out into those three key pillars? And if you are, or are willing to, you can get out of the rut, find yourself an A-rated Leapfrog score, and become a rocket ship healthcare organization, which is what we want for everybody, is to be there. Yeah. Rob, let's talk. We didn't talk about last time. We kind of talked about systems and technology as a kind of a critical stop along the roadway. If you want to put up that graphic, maybe we can give people in context here. That innovation and technology is step 5 in this roadmap, okay, this pathway. The idea being is that, one, you got to get proactive, not reactive. You got to get back into looking at what was O&E again? You got to help me. Quality, objective.
Your outcomes to your expectations.
Outcomes to your outcomes. And then you start to adopt a repeatable quality system process in your organization. We have a 7-step safety management process that we aspire to. You've got to begin to weave this stuff in strategically and culturally into your organization.
Yes.
You start to then press forward into a mindset of continuous improvement. And then, okay, you're halfway down the road. How do I get to that next tier? I need systems. Mm-hmm. And now why? Because you need to have definitive ways to measure how you're doing in your quality and safety programs that you can monitor on an ongoing basis, almost near real-time basis, and stay on top of all corrective action, all preventative action that you're putting in place to perpetuate that continuous improvement that you just went through the exit ramp for. I'm trying to use the road metaphor.
No, I love this car because I see this circle, and this circle is best practice, right?
Yes.
That is what there's. I mean, not to toot our own horn, but what we do is it's great. And because I see other systems that I've used, and instead of it being this nice circle where you can manage, move through the process, there's in a steady, even flow. There's continuous, there's identification, review, analysis. There's correction, prevention, identification, right? You're just moving all the way through. You're shooting off all these different roads that sometimes don't merge back in to your main road.
Yep.
Right? You may have, okay, well, I have my incident management, and that is a straight line off of this entire path. It will never lead me to HRO if I cannot bring my incident data, my incident responses back into the rest of my quality management process. I'm never going to get there.
So you're off-roading, right? When you're off-roading, you're not going to become a top-tier quality organization.
Not
and
even
what
on
are the benefits of that? If I'm top tier, I'm getting new revenue, right? Because I've got a great reputation, right? I am preserving the revenue that I have. I am opening up capital to be put into new different practices that I can do in my hospital that again expands revenue, right?
Yeah.
This is what we want for an organization. And most importantly, and at the top of all this, we want we want patients leaving hospitals with excellent experiences and outcomes.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Right. That's at the end game what it's all about. And it's all related. This graphic is great because it shows you, if you try to cut the corner from I'm on the mindset of continuous improvement and say, I don't need technology. What I've got is good enough. And I'm going to go and try to put in measures and try to maintain this. What does it say you're going to do? You're going to get lost in the trees. You're not going to be able to see the forest of the trees.
No, you're not.
Right.
I would argue that you're not measuring or monitoring the right things, and that you're maintaining the wrong things. Because you don't have good insight as to all of your other risks, all of your other compliance concerns. Your potential for quality is missing. When you jump steps in this process, and you're just like, you know what, I got this, I'm going to maintain as it is. Or I got lucky and I got a 3 because the charts that they pulled were good, or my sample size was small enough that I picked good charts, right? Like whatever happened, there's now too many things there's shifted off of the road, or there's just missed in general, and those risks are now growing. The penalties are going to be more severe down the road. There's your opportunity to reach an HRO is going to be destroyed. There's going to be a 9-car pileup before that. And it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And there are hospitals that are succeeding.
You're going to blow a tire at high speed.
Yeah, exactly. And there are hospitals out there that are succeeding. And the reason they're succeeding is because they have bought into quality.
Yeah.
There are not poor quality.
It becomes the essence of who they are.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of breaking down of silos in this whole thing, right? If you've got the right technology, everyone is kind of coalescing around the same set of tools and how they measure and monitor what they're doing. It creates a team feel where cardiology is working with oncology, and they're all in the same mindset, right? The ER is working in the same mindset as the lab, right? And so it's transformative and what it can do for your organization. The problem we have is that, for instance, we are a new player in this, but we are revolutionary tool in this industry because we're taking a common sense approach from soup to nuts on how you manage all this process.
Totally agree.
Right. Versus fragmented systems that do little things along the way, but not allow for you to do them all and have them all be related together. Great example you gave once upon a time. We always call it the incident from hell, but where a simple incident, which should have been addressed with an auditor within 5 minutes, turns into an all-day audit, fines, and issues that never should have happened that way if you had the right system in place.
Absolutely. So for just like a 1-minute background, there's incident happened, for cause audit from the Department of Health. We were not able to produce. There's what we did. There's to correct the situation, mitigate the risks. There's as well as prevent it from happening to other patients, which is what the Department of Health wants to see. We actually know internally through interviews and through fragmented email chains that took like 7 to 9 hours to pull. There's ultimately, we actually did the right thing by the patient. We didn't document it, nor we have systems to say, you left this wide open and nobody closed this out. You have no proof of doing the right thing.
Right.
So now we're non-compliant on a high-risk patient scenario. That led to them then jumping down a rabbit hole of, okay, now you need to show me all of your incidents associated with this because you guys aren't doing it well. And so now those are all open. Ends in between and fines millions of dollars, and that's crazy for something that should have been hey, we're here for cause. Here's the incident. I need all the information on it. And me saying to the auditors, great, give me 10 minutes and I'll have you guys out by lunch.
Hey, this is a big lesson out there. When you're dealing with a highly regulated industry, having the right heart and doing the right things isn't good enough.
Agreed. You got to prove it.
Exactly.
And
this is where systems come into play.
Yeah.
You know, with the Aperitisoft Healthcare, everybody who might be listening out there, you're able to connect the dots from the moment an incident occurs all the way through to what you did about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all in one place. You're not beginning here, stopping here, copying information over and bringing it over here, doing something else, copying the information, taking it downstream, then doing something else. That is not how it works. You know, it doesn't work that way in reality. Why should systems work that way? So the reason why we're revolutionary is that we see the logic in having this all connected from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And we provide a system that does that for you. And it does it in a very easy to use process.
Agreed. And even if you are a Leapfrog A, a Leapfrog B, a CMS 4, a CMS 5, I've seen it for years. Gary, you've seen it for years. All of our listeners have seen it for years. Hospitals do not often stay in that space for extended period of time, especially when they do not have good systems.
Yep.
You may have had a really strong push this year. So this year, you got a good score for Leapfrog. You may have had really strong leadership for the last 5 years, and they brought on a lot of staff for quality and risk, and they're doing all these manual things that are very people driven, but sometimes those are okay band-aids.
Yeah.
And they were able to achieve some longer term success and get a 5-star for CMS. But what do we know about those really big, strong leaders? You don't have them for 5 years. They're going to leave. And what happens when we have any type of succession in leadership in hospitals? You tank in quality for a moment when they're people-driven processes. People-driven processes that rely on people. When those people are gone, you are going to suffer, and your patients are going to suffer, and your revenue is going to suffer.
Yep.
And for CMS, that is going to take years to repair.
Yeah.
There's years. And for Leapfrog, you are going to have immediate negative responses.
Yep.
So your bottom line, your penalties are going to go up. Your lawsuits are going to go up. Your pay for performance programming is going to tank. And all of a sudden, Gary leaving the hospital, who's been an amazing leader for 5 years, and Rob comes in and takes over, and he's not doing as well. Now the hospital's filing for bankruptcy. You need to have integrated systems into the culture of your organization that are intelligent and user-friendly, that follow the quality process. To ensure sustainability of your organization. You cannot sustain your organization in people-driven processes in 2025. Can't do it.
So if you're a CEO out there, you just got a C rating, D rating on your hospital, and you're like, well, what can I do? And you've got products like Midas. You're taking care of your incident tracking through something like that, or RL Datix, same type of a system. And they're very disparate. They're not really addressing everything that you're doing. And you're saying, well, I've already invested a lot of money in all this stuff. I already have a lot of money put into that area. What are you going to probably do? Well, if you don't have the budget to throw a lot of bodies at it, then you're not getting out of the problem.
No.
You're not getting out of the problem. Now, our product, just to give, we don't know what, I don't want a big disclaimer here. I don't know what the price would be for your organization out there, because there's a lot of factors that would determine that. But let's just use a thumbnail. If you're around a 150 bed hospital, to get Aperitisoft Healthcare to help you, it would cost a couple $100,000. Now, to do that manually with people, you're going to have to hire 2 or 3 people to do it,
which is over $200,000.
Well, way over.
Way over.
Right.
But
it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't bring in the right systems to use with your current well-trained staff to then make the thing turn around.
Well, and then when you see that, oh, hold on, my penalties are going down, and I'm able to collect on my pay-for-performance programming, which is there's 1.5, 3, 6% of my $100 million billables to X payer. And be like, oh, hold on, well, maybe that was a good investment. I should buy my quality back into my organization by investing in the right systems that are saving me from people-driven processes that are going to fail when that person moves on, because we don't have tenure in the workforce anymore. There's the second something happens, that is not planned, and we don't have a strong system, everything falls apart around it in a total spider web.
Let's take another angle at it, Rob. Right at the beginning of our live broadcast, you talked about probably the number one root cause of a lot of these problems that are out there is that there's a staffing problem out there.
Yeah, it's massive. It's horrible.
Right.
Yes.
And we talked about root causes to the staffing problem, but it exists, right? And the staff you need in a healthcare organization are bedside. It's caregiving.
You do. Yeah.
So, okay, let me get this right. So either I've got to take away from my ability to hire caregivers to handle my quality issue, which that doesn't make sense, right? That you would do that. Or you get a system to work with the staff you have that should free up capital to help you to hire more people on the bedside.
Yeah. You have poor hospitals that are paying poorly. So when you do that, you are often not attracting the top talent. Or the talent that is staying has a higher burnout rate because they're there because they care about that community, they care about their people. But that also increases the emotional and physical burden on that particular care provider. And so no matter what, when hospitals have lower revenue and they're paying less and they don't have incentives for their employees to stay, your team is suffering, which means your patients are suffering. Every time. If you have a grumpy nurse, if you have a stressed nurse, if you have a grumpy doctor or a stressed doctor, they are not doing as good of a job for you.
Right.
As somebody who is excited to be there and they feel supported and they know if something doesn't go well, that they have the systems in place to not only protect their patient, to protect them and their license. And that they're happy to work there, and that the culture is, you know what, today sucked, but because of who we are as an organization, tomorrow is going to be better. Not today sucked, tomorrow's going to suck, and Thursday is going to be worse.
Right. Yeah. So the bottom line here is that, when you're looking at these Leapfrog scores, there's a lot more underneath the onion.
I love that. Yeah, it is. It's just a top visual. It's what you can see.
Exactly. So, the gut check, particularly on a cultural level, and how you're weaving things in strategically is very important. Is your mindset proactive on how you're looking at risk? And are you weaving this into your operations and carrying this out so that it becomes part of who you are and how you measure performance in your organization, right? You should be paying people on all these things being done right. People should be getting bonuses if you're failing in these areas.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. There's nothing that infuriates me more than
Let's go back to Aperitisoft Healthcare then.
Thank you. I'm glad you stopped me there.
I got a hook. I go back there every time. But back to Aperitisoft Healthcare, and maybe we can end our discussion on this point. Okay. Aperitisoft Healthcare produces, as you very well know, you're the principal designer behind this, produces its own score. Okay, its own quality score. It's not a Leapfrog score, but it's a Aperitisoft Healthcare quality score that is based off of a blend of the incidents that are created and how impactful they are to the organization and what you're doing about it. So if I have a lot of unattended incidents, it's going to bring down my overall quality score. If most of my incidents, gosh, I'm having a hard time with the English language today. Incidents are being addressed properly and on a timely basis, it's pulling up my Leapfrog score, my quality score, so that now I can monitor on a near real-time basis. How am I doing? Right? Am I staying on top of my issues and therefore propping up my quality score? Or am I slow to respond or not responding at all? And I'm bringing down the quality of my outcomes in my organization. This is near real time. If I'm a CEO and I'm worried about all this stuff, this is what I need. I need to know how are we doing and how are we doing right now. Not talk about it and talk about it in generalities and wait for the next audit to find out if we're better. I should be able to know by using my own system where I stand. And
Yes.
as far as we know, Aperitisoft Healthcare is the only product that can do that for you.
I can't tell you how many times I've had there's my executive team tell me, I guess we'll see when Joint Commission gets here. I guess we'll see when the Department of Health comes.
Yeah.
And I mean, to your point, how ridiculous. And sorry, I know there's a couple of you that I used to work for that listen to us. There's, and I don't mean to call you out, but the logic behind that is flawed. To be kind. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to wait for an outside entity to tell us how we are doing. There is no reason that we haven't had a system that helps create the culture, because a good system helps create the culture, right? They know that there's follow-up. They know that there's action. They feel empowered to report because they know something gets done about it. And the information makes it back to them. What I did made something better. And I think that's amazing. And we need that.
Yeah.
And I can't wrap my head around the wait for a third party, or there's frankly complain about our finances when we are not going after every potential billable dollar in the organization anyway.
Right. Well, with tools like Aperitisoft Healthcare, I mean, CEOs really are running out of excuses.
I love that. Yes, they are.
They run out of excuses. If you're getting a C score or a 3-star rating or worse from CMS, and you're not taking steps towards, bringing in Aperitisoft Healthcare as a tool, then you're not really doing everything you can do and do it the most efficient and effective way. It really doesn't make sense to me. The future of our healthcare industry really depends on there being a paradigm shift in how we deploy technology in this whole area to start improving on quality. I find it interesting when people who are in the profession will say things like you said, well, they'll have to wait until Joint Commission comes or whatever. Well, what about if you're the patient? What if it's you in there and you're getting care? Are you comfortable? It's like that idea of a pilot getting into a crickety old airplane, right?
Yeah. Pilot's cool with it, so I should be cool with it. Would the CEO send his mom or his daughter to that facility and be excited about the care she was getting? And that would be a great test. Just do a blind survey of every CEO of every healthcare facility and ask that question. And I bet you we would be scared of the answer.
I'm sure all of us have seen movies where they've got the crickety old airplane. The guy, the actor looks at him and the guy says something like, well, I think we'll be okay. But, I don't have any family, so I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, there's that too. And they just don't care about other people. Yeah. And you're like, all right. Oh, geez.
Well, I mean, to bring it home, Rob, I think, when we step away and we think about Leapfrog scores, CMS scores, these are critical and very important metrics that are available to the public to get a sense on how well hospitals are doing on their behalf, right?
Mhm.
Are they doing the things that are best for them? What we're proposing is, look, if you're stuck somewhere on this pathway, you're off-roading, and you're just not able to progress forward, consider Aperitisoft Healthcare. Okay, you're paying for Midas already. You know what? You don't have to, and maybe you're part of a group. And, and if there's somebody out there, it's in some of the larger groups in America, hospital groups, and your hospital's struggling and Midas isn't helping you, but corporate says, I need Midas because that's how we aggregate data across the group. Fine, leave it in place. Aperitisoft Healthcare, we can create APIs to automatically feed systems like Midas so that you satisfy the higher ups, but meanwhile, you're taking care of business for your hospital, right? We're just asking that you reach out and have a conversation. I think you'll be surprised what you hear and what you see once you see it.
I love that.
You get the final word, Rob.
I was like, I don't know that I could say it better. But I would say as a nurse, somebody who was bedside for a long time, and the patient does matter. It matters what we're doing and why we're doing everything that we do in healthcare. And in order to do that, we have to have systems to ensure that we have high quality, low risk where possible, and there's high compliance. That I know that every time I come into that healthcare facility, I'm going to get good care. My mom's going to get good care. My daughter's going to get good care. Doesn't matter who it is, they're getting good care, and they get consistent good care. And then the hospital is going to stay in my community and not get shut down because they have no revenue and they left so much revenue on the table.
If you are in the rut, even if you're a B rating and you're looking for something that can help you to propel to A and stay there, we're asking you to consider Aperitisoft Healthcare. And if you want to learn more about this, please go to our website, AperitisoftHC.com. That's AperitisoftHC.com. Or you can email us at insights@AperitisoftHC.com. And we'd love to have a conversation with you and see how maybe we can help you get back on the road towards top quality. Until next time, we'll see you next month where we're going to talk about AI. And, we mentioned it in the live show. If you're watching the news lately, we've had one major event happen already where AI helped a teenager to commit suicide. And that should bring chills to your spine, considering that we know AI is a great tool, but we got to use it safely. So next month, we're going to be talking about that. So hopefully you can join us. So until then, we'll see you next month.
Take care.
Bye now.